My second goal. My second goal, obviously, everyone's got their goals to get fit. But there is an addition to mine on my paper. It says get fit / get abs. Just finding the routine for that and getting fit while getting abs. I want abs. Well, that's obviously not going to happen. Hello my lovely internet friends, welcome back to my channel, and surprise! I am pregnant. If I look a bit disheveled, it's because I've been sneezing all day. This is the one thing I hate about spring, and it's hay fever. I haven't stopped sneezing all day, but yes, I am pregnant. I am currently in my second trimester, but I wanted to make this video kind of like an introduction to my pregnancy. I will continue to upload my usual random, who knows, whatever content, but since this pregnancy is part of my life, then of course I'm going to make some content about it. If you didn't know I was pregnant and you're only finding out now through this video, that means you don't follow me on Instagram. So you should go and follow me at Lauren Audrey J on Instagram. I did announce it on there over the weekend, so yes, it's definitely hay fever season. I am currently 15 weeks pregnant while filming this video. I'm halfway through the week. We weren't trying to get pregnant. In fact, we were thinking of having kids in a couple years' time, but obviously God had different plans and it was a nice big surprise for the both of us. But yes, I'll get a bit more into that later. So I'm just gonna get into how I found out I was pregnant. If you're watching this and you're super invested and love watching pregnancy related videos on YouTube, you're most likely a woman that's my age, so within the 20s bracket. When I told some of my girlfriends, the first question they asked was, what happened? How did you find out? Tell me everything. And that's kind of what, this is all about. I'm really excited to make these videos because I'm actually one of those people. I, again, wasn't planning to get pregnant anytime soon, but I am one of those people who just loves watching those pregnancy vlogs, and it's just, I don't know, to me it's just really exciting to see others go through their pregnancy, but it's not something I necessarily wanted for myself just yet. But let's get into how I found out. By the way, this is going to be talking about like periods and fertility and all that kind of stuff, so again, if you're not into that, you probably don't want to watch this video. So I use the Flow app to track my cycle, and you can change it when you do get pregnant. So now it's kind of helping me track my pregnancy as well. But I was, I think maybe 4 days late to my period. But for me, it wasn't anything concerning because this happens to me quite a bit. I do typically have a regular cycle, so that's every 28 days, but it's never always the same. I did go to get some blood work done to figure out why maybe my cycle was a bit irregular, but then the doctor told me that I actually do fall into the regular category, which I don't really know if that's true, because there were a few months where my period did come every 28 days, and that maybe happened for 3 months, and then 1 month it didn't come for like a week, and I was like, what's happening? And then it did come, and it was really heavy, and it was just awful. But my periods do tend to kind of fluctuate in length. Sometimes my cycle will be like 30 days, sometimes it'll be 27 days, sometimes it'll be 32 days. It's nothing that's too much of an outlier that would show as a problem, I think. So for me, being 4 days late, I was just like, oh, it's just one of those months, and I was getting sore boobs, I was getting cramps, and that is a typical sign for me and symptom that my period is coming. For those who don't get those symptoms of their upcoming period, you would probably think straight away, oh, I think I'm pregnant. For me, nah, because it was very typical for me to get sore boobs and to get cramps just before my period came. But in saying that, while it is a common symptom, it is actually not normal. And this is something I have learned throughout the past year about menstrual health and all of that kind of stuff. I kind of got really sucked into that world of understanding how periods work and all of that. While it is common to have these symptoms, it is not normal. You can actually get rid of these symptoms and you can experience a period without cramps. You can experience a period without sore boobs and all this kind of stuff. Obviously, if you have something like PMS, endometriosis, it's a bit of a different story. This is something I have learned from naturopaths on Instagram, especially this girl named Demi. She talks all about menstrual health. I do recommend you check her out. This is her Instagram handle. I learned so much just from reading all the information that she puts up, and I found it really helpful. Anyway, back to the story. So I was a few days late and I didn't think anything of it. And in fact, even Roger, my husband, he said to me, "Are you pregnant?" I was like, "No, I'm not. Relax. This happens all the time." No, I was pregnant. This was shortly before we went into lockdown. Roger was at work one evening and I needed to go to the toilet, and I thought, you know what? My period's not coming. I should just take a test in case. And that has happened to me multiple times before, because again, you never know. Especially that one time where my period was like a week or even a week and a half late. I was like, what is going on? I'm not pregnant. I took multiple pregnancy tests in that cycle because I was just like, what is going on? This is not normal. But I was not pregnant that cycle. I was pregnant this cycle. So I went to our little drawer of stuff. Everyone has a little drawer of stuff. And I went to find a pregnancy test in there, and I found the box, but there was nothing in there. And I was like, oh, I don't have any, whatever. I just won't take it. Then I thought, no, let me just double check again. So I went through the drawer and there was one pregnancy test left, and it was at the back of the drawer behind everything. So if I didn't go digging through that drawer, I wouldn't have found it. It's just, I don't know, the whole story is just so like, wow. Anyway, so I found it and I was like, okay, I'm gonna go take it. Busting to go to the toilet. And normally I film my reaction when I look at the pregnancy test, but I thought, don't even worry about it, because it's gonna be one of those things again where it says that I'm not pregnant. I took the test and I put it down in front of me. I put a timer on my phone, and because I was busting, I had so much pee. While I was peeing, I thought I would look at it while it developed. It was one of the first response tests. Apparently the pink dye ones are more accurate. This sounds gross, but you can see kind of like where the pee is like entering the stick and like developing. But as I was peeing, I was watching the stick develop. I'll reenact it for you. Yes, I still have my pee sticks. Kind of gross. I don't know when to get rid of them because they've kind of been sitting in a drawer for how many months now, just marinating in my pee. So, I mean, I've taken photos of them and everything, but I'm one of those people who just hoards things because I'm just like, oh, it's sentimental, but this is pee. So should I get rid of it after this? I don't know. Anyway, this was the stick. So just me sitting on the toilet, watching it develop, looking at the key here and the symbols telling you what means what. And I'm looking at it, and a huge, big, strong, fat line comes up on the first one. And I was just like, hold on a second. And because I was watching it as it was developing, not when it was already finished developing, I was just like, maybe this is just the control line. But clearly it's not, because the control line is actually on the other side. But I was just like, surely this is just the control line. Anyway, it continues to develop, and the second line, which is the actual control line, shows up, and it's a bit fainter. And I was just like, wait, no, yeah, I still was trying to convince myself that the strong first line was the control line and that the second line was the indicating kind of line. And like, I literally just kept trying to convince myself I'm not actually pregnant. There's something wrong with this stick. But that was the control line, and this second line wasn't the control line, and I'm not actually pregnant. But then in my head, I was just like, wait, even if the line was faint, that means I'm pregnant. And I naturally kind of started to freak out. I did record my reaction afterwards, and I was shaking so much because I was like freaking out, and I was just like, oh my gosh, this can't be real. But yeah, let me show you the stick, because this line is so strong. Sorry if you think it's gross, but that was the first line that popped up. So as it was developing, that line, yes, that line showed up. And it was still developing, and then that line showed up. So yeah, as I was sitting down on the toilet, I was just like, no. This is not actually happening. I'm not actually pregnant. There's something wrong with this stick. But I'm like, how can that? No, I know for a fact that pink dye sticks, so the first response ones are more accurate than the blue ones. But false positives are a thing. Then I was just like, wait. But this line is so dark, this can't be a false positive. And this was the only stick I had. So, what I decided to do after I filmed my reaction, which by the way, there will be a video full of reactions, including mine, including Roger's, my family, and such. Yeah, I was just freaking out, and I was like, I have to go to the shops and buy another one. I have to know what's going on because I'm freaking out. It was around 5 o'clock and I was just like, he is going to be home soon. So I'm going to go as quick as possible to the shops, grab some tests and come home and redo them while he's not here because I need to know for sure because I can't freak him out like this. If this is not real, which obviously it was, but I can't freak him out like this because that's not fair on him. So it literally took me only 10 minutes. The shops are really close to my house. I come home and I see that Roger's home and I'm like, no, he can't know that I went to the shops just to buy these tests. So I hid the test in one of those like Woolies freezer esky bags that kind of insulate the cold things that you buy. I put it in there because I was just like, he won't be able to see what's in here. Come inside the house. I'm like, hi to him, whatever. I'm just like, oh my gosh, I can't pee on these sticks while he's here. And like, I didn't know what to do. And he went to the toilet anyway. I was just like, ugh, I was freaking out. I was like, you know what, I'm just gonna tell him and then I can take the tests after I tell him. While he was in the toilet, I set up this little thing. I had these little baby shoes that were tucked away in a drawer, which I was meant to give to a friend, but then never got the chance to, so I ended up keeping them. Well, it worked out very, very perfectly because I didn't have time to organize anything special for him. I knew that after he went to the toilet, the first place he would go to was his computer to check Rust or Dada or something, I don't know. But yes, so I put the baby shoes there and I put the test on top of it, kind of like, because it had like 2 rows of baby shoes and I put it like in between. And I set up the camera and I just waited and I was just like shaking and being nervous and being like, oh my gosh, hurry up. So after I finished from the toilet, he went in to look at it. Then I took 3 more tests. I got another first response test and then I also got the clear blue one that tells you how many weeks. I put a picture up over here of after I took the tests. I peed in a jar and then I dipped it in. I was drinking so much water as well, which I know people say don't drink more water because then it might dilute, I don't know, not really dilute, but give you less of a result because you drank so much water and it's kind of like the HCG hormone kind of, I don't know. The first response digital one did not end up working, which made me really, really angry, but this was what happened after I dipped it in to the jar of pee. This happened. The next day we went to the doctor, got a blood test, found out the results the next day, and he's like, yes, you are. You're like 5 weeks. And I was like, how did I go from 2 to 3 weeks to 5 weeks? I wasn't 5 weeks, I was around 4 weeks. But I guess the HCG hormone was just so strong that it showed results closer to 5 weeks. By the way, when I say 4 weeks, that doesn't mean I was actually pregnant for 4 weeks. Because it's actually hard to pinpoint the date of conception, they just go off the first day of your last period. So I would say that the clear blue test that said 2 to 3 weeks was actually how long I had been actually pregnant for since I conceived. So those first 2 weeks of my cycle, I was not actually pregnant, but they kind of count it as being pregnant because, again, they don't know how to pinpoint conception that easily. I'm going to quickly go through my early pregnancy symptoms. Again, like I said, I had sore boobs, I had cramps, but that didn't necessarily indicate anything to me because that was typical of me when I got my period. But the one symptom that I didn't even realize until I found out that I was pregnant. And I'm pretty sure this is the week I had actually conceived. I, for an entire week, was extremely bloated. And it was like painfully bloated. And the reason I know that that's a pregnancy symptom and not just something that happens is because for me, that's not just something that happens. I hardly get bloated. If I do, it's probably like once a year, but bloating isn't a typical issue for me. And that entire week, my belly was like a balloon. It was rock hard. It was painful. And I was like, what is going on? Why am I so bloated the entire week? I was so uncomfortable. And I didn't know what to do about it. My pants were just constantly so tight because I was so bloated. I honestly thought that maybe I grew an intolerance to something. Maybe it was like dairy or wheat, gluten, something. That was one of the earliest pregnancy symptoms, and I didn't even know that it was a pregnancy symptom, but 100% it was, because I don't get bloated. I did BBT tracking. I'm not an expert in it, and I think that's kind of what went wrong. You basically take your temperature as soon as you wake up in the morning. You don't even get up out of bed or anything. You need to lay as still as possible while taking your temperature. And your basal body temperature is a good indication of when you're ovulating and where you are at during your cycle. As you approach your period, your temperature usually drops. But mine wasn't dropping, and I was wondering why. I was like, what is happening? Why is my temperature not dropping? Because that should be an indication that my period is actually coming. Well, it's because I was pregnant. Those were my earliest pregnancy symptoms before I found out I was pregnant. I will also do a first trimester recap. The last thing I did want to talk about was God's plan in all of this. Now, whoever's watching, you might be a Christian, you might not be a Christian. My family and I are Christians. So after we found out we were pregnant, my husband and I did a lot of thinking and kind of reflection on the past year so far, and realized how much this was God's plan, because it definitely wasn't ours. It was kind of my plan to get pregnant at least at 26 years old. I'm 24 years old right now, so I'm shy of 2 years. My mum would always be like, when am I going to have a grandkid? I'm like, when I'm 26. And she said, well, then get pregnant while you're at 25 so you can have the kid when you're 26. Which I was like, no, that's not what I mean. People at church would ask me, and even when we were at a hen's party last year, all the girls were kind of discussing when they wanted to have kids. And I said, I want to at least be 26. And my sister-in-law was like, no, I can't wait that long. She didn't have to wait that long after all. My husband and I, we knew we wanted to have kids at some point in our lives, but we both knew and we were on the same page where we were just like, we don't want kids just yet. But in saying that, when we did reflect on the past 6 months, so what's happened so far this year, we realized how much this was God's plan. The prospect of having kids came up so often with our family, with our friends. It didn't seem like anything that was forced. It seemed really natural and organic. It's not like people asked us because they wanted to ask us and find out for us. It was just conversations that came up with others, and it was kind of like a discussion of knowing other people, and we were just involved in that. And even like a couple months before, Roger and I were doing the dishes together, and randomly he brought up what he thinks our plan is for the next few years when it comes to buying a house and growing our family. And we don't talk about that very often. It's not that we don't talk about it at all. We knew what we wanted for ourselves, but it was so random that he brought it up while we're doing the dishes. Roger's not someone who typically enjoys being around children very much, but he still wants to have his own children and have a family and everything like that. Because of that, this thing was even stranger. But Roger recently started listening to sermons about having kids and what a blessing it is to have kids and the place of children in our lives as Christians. And he grew this like new appreciation for having kids, which was something that was so random and only happened like a few months before we found out that we were pregnant. So yeah, just everything that happened up to that point where we found out was just crazy to us, and you could 100% see that this was God's plan. But yeah, that was how I found out. That is kind of how, things happened. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. Don't forget to like it, subscribe to my channel, and ring the bell icon so you know every time that I post. If you do want to follow me on my pregnancy journey, really make sure that you do subscribe and even follow me on Instagram, because I will probably do a lot of mini updates over there as well. Thank you again so much for watching this video, and I hope you're having a lovely day wherever you are. Bye!